When we think about life after death, we usually envision what we've heard from religions or those who've claimed to have glimpsed the other side. But what if there was a man who didn't merely guess about it, but actually saw it with clarity, like a map drawn by the soul? A man who could communicate with the spirits, observe realms beyond the physical, and understand the deepest mysteries of existence. That man was Rudolf Steiner, a visionary of the early 20th century, whose revelations about the afterlife go far beyond conventional thought. Born in 1861 in Austria-Hungary, Steiner was not just a philosopher but a mystic who claimed to perceive the spiritual world as vividly as the material one. He spoke of communicating with souls, experiencing life after death, and tapping into spiritual realms. But he wasn't a preacher or a guru. He was a scientist, someone who believed that the mysteries of the universe were to be explored and understood, not blindly accepted. His writings and lectures laid the foundation for many groundbreaking ideas in education, agriculture, and medicine. But the most profound of his insights were those he shared about the journey of the soul after death. Steiner's teachings tell us that death isn't the end. It's a transition into another phase of consciousness. In his view, the soul doesn't vanish into nothingness but moves through stages of self-realization and purification. One of the first encounters the soul has, Steiner said, is with its own life. A panoramic review where every action, every emotion, every thought is revisited, but not from the perspective of the self. Instead, we experience everything we've done to others as if we are them. The pain we caused, the love we gave, the moments of cruelty or kindness, all felt in their entirety, not as judgment, but as understanding. For Steiner, this review isn't punishment. It's a cleansing, an opportunity to reconcile with the aspects of our life we might have ignored or misunderstood. This stage of life after death lasts approximately 1/3 the length of the life lived. So, for a person who dies at 60, they might experience 20 years in this reflective state. After this, the soul enters Kamaloka, a phase where it sheds its etheric body, the vessel of memory, and begins to face the spiritual images of its life. These are not just memories. They are symbolic, reflecting the deeper truths of existence. Lies become fog, love becomes light, and everything we've ever done or thought is illuminated. Here, there is no hiding. In this world of soul images, we experience our past life fully, not as a film but as living energy. Only after we have absorbed and understood our own soul's journey can we move beyond, with no fear, only peace. Steiner also spoke of the soul's journey through the planetary spheres. This isn't about physical locations but spiritual states. The soul passes through realms symbolized by planets, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and so on. Each represents a stage of shedding the earthly self, our desires, fears, and ambitions. As the soul ascends, it becomes lighter, more pure, until only the essence of who we are remains. But Steiner's most radical idea is the belief that we choose our next life. Before birth, our soul, guided by spiritual beings, designs a blueprint for its next incarnation. It selects the time, the place, the family, and the challenges that will help it grow. Nothing happens by chance. Illness, poverty, heartbreak. They are not accidents but opportunities for growth. Every person we meet, every trial we face, is part of a carefully crafted plan to help us evolve, to awaken, to love. Steiner believed that we are not victims of life but active participants in its grand design, choosing the lessons we need to learn. And when we leave this life, we don't just fade into oblivion. According to Steiner, we return to the spiritual realm, but the journey doesn't stop there. The souls of the departed continue to influence the living, guiding us, interacting with us in subtle ways, even if we can't always see them. The dead are not gone. They are with us, always. And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is that every encounter we have, every trial we endure, might just be the whisper of a soul trying to help us understand the truth about ourselves and the world beyond. Steiner's teachings on the moment of conception are among the most intriguing and mysterious parts of his philosophy. He suggested that the soul doesn't immediately enter the body upon conception. Instead, it observes and experiences the potential family, listening to conversations, sensing emotions, and waiting for the right time to form a connection with the body. This is not a sudden event, but a carefully considered decision, a profound and mysterious process. Think about this idea for a moment. If we take Steiner's thoughts seriously, it leads us to question how consciously we live our lives. Every word we speak, every intention we have, no matter how small, stays with us. Nothing is erased, nothing is forgotten. After we die, everything we have experienced, thought, and felt becomes part of us. Our spiritual reality is shaped not by the roles we play or the faces we show to others, but by our true selves, our private thoughts, feelings, and actions. These are the aspects of us that persist beyond death. Steiner emphasized that after death, there are no masks, no social roles that can conceal the truth of who we are. Nothing can remain hidden after death, he said. In the afterlife, only the real you remains. This is not something to be feared, but something that should be embraced. We can't hide from this truth, and all we can do is live in a way that aligns with our truest selves. One of Steiner's most profound and challenging ideas was that the spiritual world doesn't begin after death. It has already arrived. The boundary between life and death, he argued, is not as clear-cut as we often think. The world we live in is always intertwined with the spiritual, though we often fail to recognize it. This blending of the material and spiritual realms is a constant presence in our lives, if only we could perceive it. Steiner believed that it is possible to develop spiritual understanding, but this is not about seeking mystical powers or supernatural experiences. It's about introspection, refining the mind, rejecting falsehoods, and striving to be honest with ourselves. Spiritual growth is an inner process, one that is quiet and personal, not something to be flaunted or put on display. It requires effort and dedication, and it's not an easy path. Yet, those who are ready will begin to see and feel things more deeply, developing a greater understanding of life and the world around them. For some of Steiner's students, after attending his seminars, this heightened spiritual awareness manifested in dreams that felt more meaningful, inner lessons, or even communication with those who had passed. Some reported experiencing vivid visions. Spiritual growth is not always a pleasant journey. It's often challenging and involves moving through suffering toward deeper understanding. But Steiner did not believe that spiritual growth was entirely negative or bleak. He also spoke about the overwhelming presence of love that surrounds us every moment. If we could truly grasp the depth of this love, he said, we would be moved to tears, not out of fear, but out of the sheer joy of living. Steiner believed that everything in life had a purpose, that nothing happened by chance. As we learn to listen to the world around us, we begin to notice these hidden messages, whether in random encounters, the books that unexpectedly come into our lives, through illness, moments of stillness, or through love. Another significant and lesser discussed aspect of Steiner's teachings was his idea of a spiritual double. This is not a guardian angel in the traditional sense, but rather the higher aspect of ourselves, a part of us that operates in a spiritual realm. Unlike a guide or protector, this spiritual double does not intervene in our daily lives, offering guidance or commands, but exists as an integral part of our being. Steiner also warned of a powerful force he referred to as Ahriman, a being that would eventually take human form. He described Ahriman not as a mythical figure with horns or fire, but as a force that would seem appealing to the masses. This force would bring with it promises of technology, security, and order, appearing in the form of a scientist, a reformer, or even a philanthropist. Ahriman would offer logical solutions to the world's problems, and many would believe this figure to be a savior. Ahriman's teachings would be persuasive and would deny the existence of life after death, claiming that the soul is a myth, that concepts of good and evil are mere social constructs, and that consciousness is nothing more than biology. Steiner warned that if humanity did not learn to discern truth from falsehood, Ahriman's falsehoods would seem irrefutable, and many would embrace them as truth. Despite these warnings, Steiner was not fearful. He was prepared. He believed that humanity already possesses everything needed to resist this force. The real question is whether we will choose to use our inner strength. True safety, according to Steiner, does not come from religious rituals or external beliefs, but from being honest with ourselves, understanding the deeper nature of things, and not falling into either extreme of blind belief or cold skepticism. Steiner did not ask his followers to blindly accept his teachings. He encouraged them to explore and verify these ideas for themselves. "Don't believe me," he said. "Check it out for yourself." This openness to personal exploration is perhaps one of the most striking aspects of his philosophy. Today, modern science is beginning to support ideas that were once considered esoteric. Research into consciousness shows that we still don't fully understand the mind. We don't know where thoughts originate, why the brain functions the way it does, or what consciousness truly is. Some children recall memories of past lives, and people who have had near-death experiences report seeing similar visions. Prominent scientists are now tentatively acknowledging that consciousness may be something greater than the brain. Steiner had already spoken about these ideas a century ago. The light of consciousness shines through the brain like a ray of sunlight through glass, he wrote. He argued that we are not simply bodies containing souls. Rather, we are souls inhabiting bodies for a brief time. If Steiner is right, everything changes. Death is no longer the end. Mistakes are not final judgments. Every interaction we have, every meeting, every conversation is part of a larger story that we are writing. We are all connected by invisible threads, and how we live these moments affects not only our destiny, but the destinies of others as well. Steiner believed that humanity was on the verge of awakening, finally remembering not just who we were, but why we are here. He didn't promise an easy path. "You are walking on a rope stretched over a precipice," he said. "But if you fall, you will be caught." Steiner was not a prophet in the traditional sense. He did not claim to have all the answers, nor did he start cults or make threats of damnation. He simply reflected on his own experiences and encouraged others to do the same. He saw humanity as a mystery, a living, ongoing mystery, not a puzzle to be solved. The only thing that matters is the journey. The more we look within ourselves, the more the boundaries between life and death, body and spirit, self and others begin to blur. The suffering we encounter along the way has a purpose. Like a doctor who makes incisions to heal, Steiner understood that pain can lead to growth and healing. Even in the darkest moments, he believed, there is light. Even the most lost or broken person has within them a spark of something higher that can never be extinguished. Our journey is not about ascending to some higher plane, nor about seeking miracles or escaping to paradise. It is about being honest with ourselves, living genuinely, without masks or pretensions, and constantly asking, what if today were the last day? This is the true path towards self-realization, a journey inward, not upward. As Steiner said, there is light even in the darkest soul. Every step we take on this path brings us closer to understanding who we truly are and who we are meant to be.